Right, and another guest that was on Video Soul around during your time at BET was New Edition, and you pretty much had the chance to watch them grow from kids to like their solo years with BBD, Johnny Gill. So how was that like watching them grow?
Oh, it was wonderful, man. I mean, we watched a lot of artists grow, and those guys in particular, because they were always friends and still are friends. We've always been cool, and you know, they had something special. You know, I've always been fond of groups. You know, again, growing up in Detroit and loving the Temptations so much, to see New Edition come along, they were like the closest thing to that era that I saw. You know, they kind of, as a matter of fact, for a, what was it? It was the BET Walk of Fame honoring Smokey Robinson 2 years ago. New Edition came back and performed the Temptations. They did some of the Temptation songs that Smokey wrote. And it was unbelievable, man, to watch these cats do the Temps. I mean, they had the steps down, man. They were killing it. And so, you know, it's always fun to watch somebody grow, especially when you see them start off and, you know, you don't know if they're going to make it or not. I mean, sometimes you can see something special in somebody, and, you know, it still doesn't mean that they're going to make it. You know, all the stars have to be in alignment for that to really happen. And but when it does happen, it's a beautiful thing to see, you know. And then for them, for them to grow into boys to men. I mean, you know, for Michael Bivins to have created that whole thing, or at least discovered it. I shouldn't say created, but you know, to watch them grow and for them to credit their start to your show, you know, I mean, that's very cool stuff, man. It makes you feel good. Right, and then around 1995, that was when Video Soul was like was losing its steam and whatnot. And I noticed that, I think I've read in Bob Johnson's book, The $1 Billion Bet, that there was no finale for Video Soul when it went off the air, correct? No, there wasn't. I mean, you say losing its steam. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, it was always the most popular show on that network. But no, we did no final show. You know, for me personally, I got a call from Sherry Carter one day saying that we're getting ready to do the final show, and I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, at 1 o'clock. I said, oh, really? She said, you don't know anything about it? I said, no, I don't. And she just started crying. And she says, you have to be there. I said, no, I'm not going to be there. You know, I stopped doing that a while ago. You know, for me, I just got tired of the show. The last 2 years I did the show were brutal for me. You know, everything has its time, and I did the show for 14 years, and I think that, you know, everything gets old, man, and I just felt that I was just tired of it. The last 2 years, every night I would go to do the show. There's a street here called New York Avenue is how we got to BET, and every day I would think, God, if I just kept riding, I could be at the Bay in 45 minutes having dinner with my boo. You know, that's all I could think about. And when you have those kinds of thoughts on the way to do a show, that tells you that it's time to stop doing that show. I didn't want to be there anymore. Right. I believe in that same philosophy myself. When it stops getting fun, then it's time for you to move on. There's no question. There's no question. If you're not having fun, then it's not worth doing. You know, life is too short. Right. And speaking of Sherry Carter, what is she up to now? Making babies. Well, she has 2 babies. She had them actually while we're doing the show. So they are like 10, 11, 12 years old, something like that now. Okay. Yeah, but she lives in the D.C. area, and she's doing well. I've talked to her recently. She's doing great. That's good. That's good. And the highlight for me was Friday nights, 8 to 10. This is Donnie Simpson Video Soul Top 20 Countdown, sponsored by Coca-Cola Classic. Dang, you do know it, don't you? Yes, I mean, I studied Video Soul like it was a playbook, you know. I see. Cause I tell people all the time who inspired me to get into radio and TV it'll be you and Don Cornelius. Wow, man. Well, that's very flattering, man. That makes it all worthwhile. You know, it really does. I mean, you know, to have someone who looks up to you like that, and it to make a career out of it because of that influences, that, wow, it doesn't get better than that.
And, like, with BET's current state, how do you feel about, 106 & Park being the flagship show for BET as Video Soul was for many years?
You know what? I can't comment on that. I'll be straight up honest with you. I've never seen it.
You never seen 106?
No, I've never seen it. I know it's a popular show, and I know AJ, and because he's come up to introduce himself at a BET Walk of Fame show. He came up and kneeled, which was really, really funny. I mean, and there's thousands of people standing around, and this dude is kneeling. He's bowing and, doing that, like, you're the man, that kind of thing, which is very cool.
Right.
But, I can't comment on it a whole lot. I'm not, I just did not watch, I never saw the show. I didn't watch my show.
Wow.
I didn't watch Video Soul. I don't know. I never liked to watch my work or listen to my work on radio. I don't listen to tapes. I don't watch videotape because I'm afraid it'll make me too analytical. To me, it is a magic that exists. And I do me. I do my thing, and whatever me is, that's what you get. And I feel like if I start trying to analyze it, then I start trying to make it perfect, and that kind of loses the realness and the magic that it is. And so, and I may be wrong, but it's 35 years of being wrong now. But I never watched videos. Every now and then I would catch it because I was in somebody's house that had it on, but I never, ever, ever turned it on at home. They send me, God, I must have hundreds of tapes that I've never watched. I figured one day maybe when I'm 75 years old and want to look back and show my grandkids or something, maybe I'll look at it then. But, yeah, I don't watch much.
Right, because, like, my aunt, she lives in South Carolina. She has a collection of BT tapes and stuff, like Video Vibrations and Video Soul, and I cherish those.
Is that right?
Yes, I still pop them in and watch them. When I do, I get a smile on my face.
Really? Wow, that's very cool, man.
Yes.
That's very cool. I'm honored. I'm very flattered. That's great.
And now, how do you feel about, like, since BET was sold to Viacom in like 2000, how do you feel about that? Because I feel like BET has lost some of its luster that it had before that. With you had Teen Summit, Video Vibrations, Soft Notes, Video Soul, and now a lot of people saying we want BET to go back to that golden era.
Yeah, well, I've heard that too. I don't know. I don't know if it's Viacom that affected that, or if it would have gone the same route had Bob never sold it to Viacom. I don't know. Bob is a businessman, and some of that criticism Bob received long before he sold it to Viacom. So I don't necessarily think it's the white man taking over this property and deprogramming it from a black perspective and trying to make it something else, because Bob still ran it for 5 years after he sold it, and now Deborah Lee is running the network. So, it's still, I personally would have, it meant a lot more to me when it was black-owned, because that's something that has always been important to me, that we should be in control of media properties. We should be in control of images and messages that come into our communities. That's the way I've always felt. So when it was black-owned, it meant a lot more than being, black-run but white-owned, which is what it is now. Well, I told you at the beginning of this interview that the reason that I got involved with it was because it was our first black-owned television network. That was the thing that turned the corner on my thinking on this, that made me get involved. Right. I don't know that I make that same decision if it was set up the way it is today.